Table salt. It is the most common form of salt found in kitchens around the world. The grains are small, uniform, and free-flowing, which makes it easy to measure and use consistently in cooking and baking. Most table salt is mined from underground deposits left behind by ancient dried-up seas, then heavily processed to remove impurities and other minerals. Iodine is added to most commercially sold versions, a practice that began in the 1920s to address widespread iodine deficiency in populations that did not live near the coast. The fine texture dissolves quickly, which is why it remains the default choice for everyday cooking. Sea salt. It comes directly from evaporated seawater, and the method of production is one of the oldest in human history. Coastal communities have been harvesting it for thousands of years by flooding shallow basins with seawater and allowing the sun and wind to do the work. Because it goes through less processing than table salt, sea salt retains trace minerals from the water it came from, which can give it a slightly more complex flavor. The texture varies widely depending on the source and how it is processed, ranging from fine crystals to large, coarse flakes. Different seas produce noticeably different salts. Himalayan pink salt. It is mined from the Kura salt mine in Pakistan, one of the largest salt mines in the world, situated near the foothills of the Himalayas. The distinctive pink color comes from trace amounts of iron oxide and other minerals present in the deposit. Despite the name, the mine is not actually in the Himalayan mountain range, though it formed from ancient seabeds hundreds of millions of years ago. The flavor is mild and clean, not dramatically different from regular salt, though many cooks prefer it for finishing dishes simply because of its appearance and texture. Large slabs of it are also sold as cooking surfaces that can be heated and used to sear food directly. Kosher salt. The name does not mean the salt itself is certified under religious dietary law. It refers to its use in the koshering process, where the large, coarse grains are applied to meat to draw out blood before cooking. The grains are flatter and more irregular than table salt, and they dissolve more slowly, which gives cooks more control when seasoning by hand. Professional chefs have favored it for decades, largely because of that control. A pinch of kosher salt between the fingers covers more surface area than a pinch of fine salt, and the texture makes it easier to feel how much you are using. It has very little to no iodine added, which some argue preserves a cleaner flavor. Fleur de sel. It is considered one of the finest salts in the world, and it is harvested by hand from the surface of salt ponds along the coast of France, particularly in the Gironde region of Brittany. Workers skim the thin, delicate crust that forms on the water's surface on calm, sunny days before it sinks and mixes with the coarser salt below. The result is a moist, irregularly shaped crystal with a subtle briny flavor and a slight mineral complexity. Because the harvesting window is short and the process is entirely manual, it is produced in small quantities and sold at a price much higher than most other salts. It is almost always used as a finishing salt rather than in cooking. Maldon salt. It comes from Maldon in Essex, England, where salt has been produced since at least the time of the Roman occupation. The modern Maldon Salt Company has been operating since 1882. What makes it recognizable is the shape of its crystals, which are thin, hollow pyramids with a light, flaky texture that crunches gently when bitten into. The flavor is clean and bright, with no bitterness. Chefs and home cooks alike use it almost exclusively as a finishing salt, scattering it over food just before serving to add both flavor and a visual texture. The pyramid shape gives it a different experience on the palate compared to denser crystals. Black salt. There are two distinct salts that share this name, and they are quite different from each other. The first is Hawaiian black lava salt, which is sea salt blended with activated charcoal, giving it a striking dark color and a mild, slightly earthy flavor, often used for presentation. The second, and arguably more interesting, is Kala Namak, a volcanic rock salt from South Asia with a sulfurous, egg-like aroma and taste. Kala Namak is used widely in Indian cuisine, particularly in chats, chutneys, and spiced drinks, where its pungent quality adds a layered complexity that regular salt cannot replicate. It has also become popular in vegan cooking as a way to mimic the taste of eggs. Red Hawaiian salt. It gets its deep reddish-brown color from the volcanic clay called alea that is mixed into the salt during production. The clay is rich in iron oxide and has traditionally been used by native Hawaiian communities, both for seasoning and ceremonial purposes. The mineral content from The clay contributes to a fuller, earthier flavor than plain sea salt. It is closely associated with traditional Hawaiian dishes, particularly poke and kalua pig, where it serves both as a seasoning and a key part of the dish's cultural identity. The color and texture also make it visually distinctive, and it is increasingly found in specialty food shops outside Hawaii. Smoked salt. It is exactly what the name describes. Salt crystals are cold smoked over wood for an extended period, allowing the flavor and aroma of the wood to fully penetrate each grain. Different types of wood produce meaningfully different results. Alder wood gives a lighter, sweeter smoke, while hickory or mesquite produces something deeper and more intense. Smoked salt adds a barbecue quality to food without any actual grilling, which makes it useful for seasoning everything from roasted vegetables to grilled meat. The color ranges from pale gold to dark brown, depending on the wood and the duration of the smoking process. It is used almost exclusively as a finishing or seasoning salt, rather than in baking. Pickling salt. It is a fine-grained, pure salt with no additives of any kind. No iodine, no anti-caking agents, nothing beyond sodium chloride. Those additions, while harmless to eat, can cause problems in the pickling process. Iodine can inhibit the fermentation bacteria that give certain pickles their character, and anti-caking agents can make brine go cloudy. Pickling salt dissolves quickly and completely in water, which is important when making brines for vegetables, meats, or fermented products. The grain size is similar to table salt, but the purity is the defining feature. Home canners and fermenters rely on it specifically because any inconsistency in the salt can affect the final outcome. Sel gris. It translates from French as gray salt, and the color comes from the minerals and clay it picks up from the bottom of the salt ponds where it settles. Unlike fleur de sel, which is skimmed from the top of the water, sel gris sinks and is raked from the floor of the basins, making it coarser, moister, and less refined. It comes primarily from the Gironde region of France and from the Ile de Ré. The flavor is robust and mineral-forward, with a slight oceanic quality that works well with heartier foods. It is used both in cooking and as a finishing salt, and because it is less labor-intensive to harvest than fleur de sel, it is more affordable while still offering a meaningful difference from standard sea salt. Persian blue salt. It is one of the rarest salts in the world, mined from ancient deposits in Iran. The blue color, which ranges from pale silvery blue to deeper violet tones, comes from the optical effect of light passing through a mineral called sylvite within the crystal structure, rather than from any pigment or external mineral. The flavor has a light, slightly sharp quality with a subtle mineral finish that fades quickly on the palate. Because the deposits are limited and mining is difficult, Persian blue salt is produced in very small quantities and commands a high price. It is almost never used in cooking and is instead reserved as a finishing salt for presentation, where its extraordinary color does the most work. Curing salt. It is a specialized salt used specifically in the preservation and curing of meat. Unlike regular salt, curing salt contains sodium nitrite and sometimes sodium nitrate, which serves a critical function beyond flavor. These compounds prevent the growth of dangerous bacteria, most notably the one responsible for botulism during the curing process. It is sold under various brand names and is typically dyed pink to distinguish it visually from regular salt and prevent accidental overuse, as consuming it in large amounts is harmful. It is what gives cured meats like bacon, ham, and salami their characteristic pink color and their extended shelf life. Without it, traditional charcuterie, as it exists today, would not be possible. Rock salt. It comes in large, unrefined crystals that are typically coarser and less processed than most other salts. It is mined directly from underground deposits and is used in a wide range of applications beyond just cooking. Spreading it on icy roads in winter is one of its most common uses globally. In the kitchen, it is used in ice cream makers, where it lowers the freezing point of ice to help churn the mixture to the right consistency. It is also used as a bed for serving oysters, as a crust for baking whole fish, and occasionally in brining. The flavor is straightforward and strong, but because of its size and texture, it is rarely used as a direct seasoning where precision matters. Saltpeter. The common name for potassium nitrate, it has been known and used for centuries across many different fields. In food, it was historically used as a preservative and curing agent for meat, long before modern curing salts were developed, contributing to the pink color of preserved meats and extending their shelf life. It was also a critical ingredient in gunpowder, which made it one of the most strategically valuable substances in the world for several centuries. Governments and armies went to considerable lengths to control its supply. Its use in food has largely been replaced by more consistent modern alternatives, but it remains a significant figure in both culinary history and the broader history of chemistry and warfare.